Retro Review. I am your host, as always, Chad Bordo, and joining me is Matthew Edrick, and we're talking James Pond, not Bond, of the SNES fame. Matt, let's get started with the first category, graphics. Out of 5, what are you giving this sucker?
I want to give it a higher score because I always tend to like cutesy platformers, but man, this game is rough. Um, I it wants to go for something cute, but it gets very repetitive with its design. And other than a few like cool variations on characters and stuff like that, I found this overall visual presentation very boring and very lazy. I would guess I could say as a whole. So I gotta be real, like I'm thinking two, honestly.
I'm going to go a little bit higher. I find it to be a little charming. He's a little dude from the pond, right? And he's trying to be a secret agent, like and like he does this little gopher from Caddyshack kind of strut. I'm all right, and I dig that, so I'm gonna give it a 3. It ain't getting much higher, but he's all right. All right, Matt. Let's talk about sound. What you giving it?
Uh, oh man, like the sound effects themselves are fine. They work for everything that's in this game. Where I get hung up is in the music, primarily the fact that there's literally maybe less than a handful of tracks playing. I think honestly, there's only one track that plays the whole time, and it just got really irritating, really grating, and sounded like everything else is fine, but again, yeah, I'm stuck at a lower score. I think I'm gonna say two again.
I'm going to agree with you on the 2. It's not anything to write home about. The sound effects, what there are fine, but the overall score for the game is just it's lacking. And I think anyone who plays this will understand where we're coming from. But Matthew, what about gameplay? What would you give gameplay?
There's not a whole lot of originality to it. I'd say for what's here, it fairly works as a just being a straightforward like platformer. There's a couple cool ideas, like I like when he does a little stretch thing to, traverse the environment. I feel like that's unique to a degree, but everything else is pretty standard. Um, it all works on a fundamental level, so I would say average, probably a 3.
I like that they tried to incorporate other elements into this game, but I don't feel like they did it to the degree in which they could have. Because there's a little portion for like you're speed running like Sonic and you're jumping like Mario, but they don't incorporate enough of it to make you think that like, oh yeah, we're trying to be some kind of cross hybrid. It's just kind of like little things like, oh look, Sonic runs fast. We'll have a little part where he runs fast, and it's just like, all right, I see you trying to be a whore over there. It ain't working. I'm gonna give it a 3. It works. It's fine. It's just wholly uninventive in an era where you needed to be inventive to stand out. And it even has the Sonic and Mario like exit kind of symbol thing. Like Sonic had that twirling ball, and Mario had the flag. Fucking Pond has his own bullshit now. Ugh. Fun factor. What are we giving this sucker?
I man, I really thought I would have had more fun with something like this, but I feel like the generic design really and the rudimentary gameplay and the fact that this isn't a straightforward platformer, it's more explorative in a degree, so that makes it not exactly knowing where to go, kind of makes it a pain in the ass to enjoy it really because I got lost sometimes, but I wouldn't say it's like that bad. I just would say it's fair again, like average. I would say honestly, I'm looking at probably a 3.
I would give it a 3 as well. I don't find this game to be horrible. I don't find this game to be unplayable. I don't find this game to be anything to write home about either. So it's like, all right, it's something to say you played. It's not something to say you'd recommend. Matthew, challenge, and then we're going to wrap this up.
This is fairly simple. There's nothing too complicated about this game. There's not a moment where you're going to get stuck, or there's not an enemy type that's really hard to figure out, or things like that. Um, but aside from that, again, like I'm stuck in the average boat here because there's nothing here that truly stands out in either way. I never got angry at this game or anything. Like everything that I had fault with was my own problems. So I would say 3 again.
Yeah, I'm on the same bandwagon on this one. Uh, this is the ratio to difficulty. Like, how hard is it compared to how rewarding is it? And honestly, it's not a very hard game. You know, if you're patient, you're going to beat this with relative ease. But it's also not a game that makes you try too hard for such little payoff. So it's fine. You'll have an adequate challenge for the kind of game that you're expecting. Like, this isn't some stupid kind of nonsense game. So I think if you're looking for a relative easy but also somewhat rewarding playthrough, you can find that here. Just don't expect it to be like Zombie Ate My Neighbor's Hard, because it's not like at all.
Mm-mm-mm.
Overall, it gets us a 13.5 out of 25. That breaks us down to a 54%, which means it's not recommendable. Kind of what we were expecting. So there you go. James Pond. Garbage. Garbage bin for you. That will do it for this week's review. Be sure to check out the podcast, the NerdCorp podcast, right here on the same YouTube channel, which is now Real NerdCorp on YouTube, and twitch.tv/RealNerdCorp for all of our streaming stuff. You can be sure to check us out for our New Year's Eve podcast. We're not sure what we're doing yet for it. Might record it live, might record it, previously, but be sure to keep an eye out for that. If you're listening live, you can stick around as we do our podcast. If you're not listening live, be sure to check it out. And be sure to check out twitch.tv/RealNerdCorp and RealNerdCorp.com, your one-stop shop for all things us. For Matt, I'm Chad. Say goodnight, Matt.
Good night.